Welcome to the Outer Realm with MicheleDerocher and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We're fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey for the last several years. Thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for the contribution of his music and his voice at his time for the intro that you just heard. You can find all of this incredible music on all of your favorite streaming platforms. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, much of my favorites. Isn't it everyone's? Anyway, go check him out. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind our logos here at the show. Also specializes in the horror and Halloween genre, but can do phenomenal commission pieces of any type. And you can find him on Facebook and Instagram. So tonight, lots of fun. What can I say? We're just waiting we're going to wait for Wayne to join us. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to read a little excerpt. So, The Matrix. We've covered this before. Tonight, we're going to touch on some different things, the film, and we're going to touch on, the hypothesis of everything. But let's just start with this. Most of us have seen the films where the belief is that reality is not real, a vast simulation, which was designed and orchestrated by super advanced AI or possibly ET. But another theory is that we are living in some cosmic computer game. So since the film, 25 years ago initially, scientists and philosophers actually think that we're living in a simulation. This is something they're looking into. They say it's totally plausible. And actually, it's a 50-50 chance. But when you see these films, they were absolutely, if anything, way ahead of their time. And people, even though they're giving you all these clues about our reality, a lot of people don't know that the film touched on many religious and spiritual traditions as well. So, I think that's pretty cool. And we're going to sort of touch on that and a lot more. Oh, and here is Wayne. How's it going?
No.
I know, right? So, hey, Patsy, people chiming in. Hello, Heidi again. So, hello, Dolly. Hello, Folgers indeed. Hey, Janie. Hey, Kazan. How are you? Hello, Ange. Wow, get to see a live episode. Well, thank you for spending your time with us. That's fantastic. I love it. So Mark, hello, Mark. So if I'm missing anybody, I do apologize. There's different streams coming in, different comments. I'm going to read. I can't even put my Morpheus voice on, but here we go. So
Come on, try.
Okay, Neo. The Matrix is a system, Neo. The system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we're trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of the system. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. Many of them are so injured, so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight to protect it. Morpheus from the Matrix movie. So, you kind of start getting into some of that. It's kind of like, wow, jeepers. I always think Truman Show as well. I just look at a lot of different things, like poor guy thinking he's a happy little world. And meanwhile, it's just like, wait, is that a trap door up there? It's like, I keep looking for the trapdoor.
If you
Anyway,
walked a mile in my shoes, you'd think the Truman Show was real, based on me, this guy right here.
hi, Guardian. Okay, give us some examples before we get into that.
What of the nonsense that goes, stuff that you just can't believe happens? Like, come on,
Hi,
it's
Cindy.
unreal.
Yeah.
Well, like, okay, so let's. I mean, the
Give us some
stupid stuff.
examples before I
Okay,
get
let's
into all these notes
let's look
and
at
stuff.
this example. I'll give you an example of digging a trench. So I got to dig a 24-foot trench from the back of the house to the garage, right? So it's 12 feet one way and 12 feet another. So in digging a trench, you're going to hit a few things like roots and things like that. Okay, so I start digging the trench, right? Usually the trench that long would take me about a day to do, maybe two, right? I'm getting older. Took me 2 weeks. So I got about a foot from the house and I hit a stump, a tree stump, an old tree stump. You know, so I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. It's only about 10 inches across. I can get around it. No, can't get around it. Can't get over it. Can't do it. The thing's got to be 16 inches deep, this cable. So I had to chainsaw through it. But fortunately, it only ended up being 30 inches across. So once I got past that, I was okay. And then I ran into a pile of disposed of cinder block buried every which way. Each one had to be hacked out with a pickaxe and pulled up. But that was okay, because after that, I hit a pile of discarded cement that had to be busted apart with a chisel and a sledgehammer. Then I ran into 7 patio stones, stacked one upon the other and buried, each one having a line of roots between them. So then I turned right to go the other way, and I hit more patio stones, which were sitting on top of rocks, which were sitting on top of more discarded brick. Then I had to go underneath a patio, like an actual interlocking patio. So I have a long auger bit to go drilling through that. Halfway through, I hit something solid. So I came through from the other way, hit the same thing solid, pulled apart the patio, dug all the way down to where the obstruction was, and there was nothing there.
So, yeah, Patsy says you're describing. She goes, "Oh my God, Wayne is describing my life."
But that's mine too.
And Kazan says the hero's journey.
I dropped a bolt while building an engine. Right, this bolt went all the way down the engine, and it should have landed in the oil pan, but it didn't. That necessitated pulling the entire engine out, taking the whole engine apart, and I found the bolt. It had gone down the hole, stopped midway, went sideways into an oil passageway vertically. What stopped it to move it sideways? There was nothing there.
See,
but it did necessitate an extra 16 hours of work.
Yes, and Wayne has this theory that there's definitely something out there to get him. That's out to get him.
You even said yourself.
I have to say, I have never seen, and I've seen a lot of stuff. I have never seen the obscure stuff that happens to this guy. It's almost
when our
ridiculous.
paths first crossed, Michelle, she used to look at me and go, "I hate to pop your bubble, but there are more important people in the world than you." I'm like, I'm not saying that I'm the most important person in the world. I'm just saying weird stuff happens. Fast forward about 6 years, she goes, "You know what?
Yeah.
I got to admit, some pretty weird stuff happens to you."
I did. It left me scratching my head, So I figured, okay, anything's possible. So
there you go.
There are definitely things, right? So,
there's things.
Yeah, Mark says his cat's frozen in midair.
I could see that at Mark's place.
Yeah, So I don't know there are some obscure things. So if you start looking into, first off, what is a matrix? It's a place of average people who do not believe in themselves, that they live, and where they do not amount in anything great. And I thought that's kind of strange. And this is just like the description that I got online, because I wanted to definitely see what they had to say about it. So, term describing a controlled environment or situation in which people act or behave in ways that conform to roles predetermined by powers that be. That came from the Urban Dictionary. Okay. So, but if we're looking at the film itself, I think this was released 99. That was a heck of a long time ago. My gosh. We have to look at the fact that the central premise of the film was basically the reprise of an Indian concept of Maya or illusion. The film had a lot of references to Hindu philosophy. In fact, when Morpheus says, "What is real?" If you're talking about your senses, what do you feel? Taste, smell, see. All of you're talking about in electrical signals interpreted by your brain. So it's kind of like, okay, that's interesting. So he goes on and explains, all kinds of things. But the producer, Peter Radar, had basically was quoted as saying, it's a yogi movie, as it says that this world is an illusion. So you get into all of that. Like it hits on so many different historical, spiritual aspects. A lot of people believe that Morpheus fits the profile of Lord Krishna. So, it's possible. But yet he has recently been quoted, in an interview as saying, so it says here, Hollywood actor Lawrence Fishburne revealed to Neil deGrasse Neil deGrasse Tyson that the movie Matrix was about Jesus. Neo was the one, a savior who awakens to his true identity, sacrifices himself to free humanity. Morpheus is a believer, much like John the Baptist. He prepares a way full of unwavering faith. Trinity the faithful. Her devotion mirrors Mary Magdalene, loyal and present through every trial. Cypher the betrayer. Like Judas, he trades truth for comfort and chooses the illusion over freedom. So, I don't know. There's a lot of spiritual bits in the film, right? So if you're looking at all of that, it makes it even more interesting, right? But the Matrix is described by Morpheus as a prison for your mind. I don't know, Wayne. What are your thoughts? Prison for your mind.
I think it's exactly what it is. I've talked about this place being the prison planet since I was in my early 20s, maybe even before.
Yeah.
You take everything. I'm not even talking like the current state of affairs, but even way back when.
Mm-hmm.
People. I'm not a flat earther, but it does make you wonder, because people go, well, we can look out into space. Who's we? I can't look out into space. Even my really good friend, who's an astronomer, goes, if I had all the money in the world, I went to the telescope store, as he calls it. And I said, I want the best telescope you could have. I want the one that NASA uses. They wouldn't sell it to me. Because they wouldn't. They just wouldn't. So all the pictures you get from space, where do they come from? Oh, the government. And I trust them. So yeah. So it's kind of the same idea, they've got computers controlling you, or we got whoever controlling us, keep the puppet going.
Yeah, Kaysen says, someone said everything is real and unreal at the same time. Read the back of your book. Of course, it's out of the book series. It's my favorite. I imagine why. Yeah. So read the back of your book, because remember, this was written way back.
A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
This is way before all this nonsense, right? So essentially it's dark, bad cover, but it's Dark Origins. It's what I call the origins of vampires, where they come from. But on the back of the book, it's just a short little thing, but it's between the two main characters. So the first character said, so is everything we've been taught, everything that we have come to know, is it all just wrong? And the other fellow replies, everything as you have come to understand it to be is nothing more than a carefully constructed, meticulously maintained, and ruthlessly enforced fabrication.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of people have messaged me after reading this and said, Wayne, this is more than a vampire book, isn't it? Yes, it's more than a vampire book, right?
Hidden in plain sight. But I'll tell you something. There's a lot of information that comes out there. So if, let's say, we're living in this simulation, for example, call it the Matrix, call it whatever, a 3D planet, whatever the case may be. It's believed this is code. Now, again, I'm going to read you something that comes in off of one of the pages I follow called Inspired. And it says here that, I don't know, are we all avatars? So before you entered this life, you chose your avatar, the body, the family, the environment, life customizing your sim, so to speak, before hitting play. But why? Because the avatar was designed to carry the exact lessons and karma and missions for your soul signed up for. Non-player character. I don't know. I'm on the fence with that, but we'll continue. So not everyone is a player. Non-player characters are background characters running on autopilot, repeating the same lines of programming. Their job is to keep the simulation running, to test you, to distract you, to mirror your old
Mhm.
the old cold back at you. They're not bad. They're just not coded for awakening players, what they remember. So, you get into a lot of that. So I can bend the code, respond to my frequency, the moment of remembering, the awakening. The hackers, rare souls like Neo, came here to play, but to crack the illusions, to expose the glitches. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So essentially, as we move on, in 1977, Philip K. Dick said that we are living in a computer programmed reality. Elon Musk, well, I'll talk about that as we go further in, but he also believed that we were in a computer programmed game, so to speak. He had recovered memories of a pseudo world, not past lives, but a very different parallel version of now. So his writing was turned into movies like Blade Runner, Minority Report, Total Recall, Imposter, The Adjustment Bureau. And he also wrote The Man in the High Castle in 1962. So you start getting into a lot of that. It's kind of like, oh my God. But if you think about it, are we just these containers, to one singular consciousness that exists beyond time, space, dimensions? Is it using living organisms and beings as vessels, vehicles to experience the existence itself and the universe? I don't know. Is it? What do you guys think? Just based on stuff like that.
You're asking the chat room.
I'm
You're
asking
asking
you too. Yeah, I'm asking.
You're asking me as well.
Yeah, both of you
I'm
guys.
I'm
Yeah.
always curious about like why we're here and the karmic points and all that kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
it's a curiosity because I've said to you before, like just, and I can only use my own life as an example because no one knows your inner workings like you know your inner workings,
Mhm.
and no one walks in your shoes, so to speak, right? But like, I don't know about a past life that I can even remember.
Mhm.
But I'll tell you something, like I cannot veer off the course that I'm on.
Mhm.
Whatever the course is, like
Yeah.
I walk the line and that's it. As soon as I go, hey, what's that over there? That's kind of cool. I am snapped back like on a bungee cord.
Right.
And it's not of my own volition. Like I want to go over there. And all of a sudden, like, boink, here I am.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck here. So it's remarkable at how exact that is. And I've got numerous examples of me trying to consciously veer off that course and being snapped back to what I call my pre-programmed or predetermined
Mhm.
path.
Mhm. Yeah, it's funny. Go off too
Oh,
far
it's
off
hilarious.
course. Yeah, well, yeah, there's always a way of kind of snapping you back in there for sure. you
Oh
know.
man, it's not fun.
So let's explore. It's funny because I spoke a little bit about archons today on Ethereal Encounters with
Mm.
Carol Ann. And a lot of people love David Icke, don't love David Icke. I personally am very pro David Icke. The guy was way ahead of his freaking time. And he spoke about archons and escaping the matrix. So
Mm.
basically, the mention of archons, which is mentioned in the Gnostic texts, was stated that humanity has been hijacked by these beings who have been called, they're a lot of them they're like demiurges, and then they had these guys here. And in the Gnostic writings, they are beings that feed off human energy. So we'll get into that as we move further along. But he did say that the archonic mind is a mind of almost like a psychopath, which has no empathy, shame, remorse, and they're pathological liars. They control, archons are said to control your memories. They can just control everything when it comes to, to what we're actually thinking, negative thinking, not, like I'm not going to get into positive stuff, but he's been quoted as saying, awaken our ability to decode reality. It's linked to what we're able to perceive. He went on to add that sages and shamans have long been able to see beyond the narrow range of visible light, or the frequency range of visible light. He feels that humanity is living in a form of a Stockholm syndrome, which is a traumatic bonding with a captor, which we know, Stockholm syndrome. He says he feels that, he's often said rather, in many interviews, that he feels there's no coincidence that our pineal gland, which is, in the brain, the mind's eye, is being calcified, and the introduction of fluoride in the water, blah, blah, blah. He feels humanity has been kept ignorant. And this, of course, is one theory among others. And he's often, I mean, he was getting removed a lot there for a while. And if they remove you, it's because, on an average,
onto
maybe
them.
you just speak in, even if it's 50-50, there's still a lot of stuff in there that they obviously don't want. They don't want you catching on to. Dolly said, yeah, we all have our own decisions. Yes, absolutely. Be brave. Absolutely. I believe they're gradually molding us into our real reality, a virtual world, avatars, AI, virtual, implemented gradually. It's all very possible.
Well,
Thoughts?
yes.
Thoughts, Mr. Wayne? Thoughts?
Now, I don't like when that one vision that I had. I've mentioned it before on this show. And I don't
Yeah.
like to be boring, but it was what I call a hybrid being, like what
Yes.
you would call a gray.
Yes.
But this was taller anyway, female. But she had long, straight black hair, beautiful blue eyes. I mean, beautiful. Like they're still almond shaped, but just stunning. And I had posed the question that we were talking about tonight, like what the hell is going on?
Mhm.
Like, why is everything so messed up here? What's happening?
Mhm.
And she comes out of the darkness. I couldn't tell you if I was floating, laying down, sitting, standing. I couldn't tell you. Very comfortable.
Mhm.
And she comes up and she goes, "Don't be afraid." I'm like, "I'm not afraid at all," And
Mhm.
she's like, "I'm glad." She goes, "To your question," she goes, "You're right. It is a matrix." I'm like, "What? Like the TV series? Like, is it that simple?" And she goes, "No, nothing like that." She goes, "What I'm saying is," she goes, "this whole place that you are, where you live, everything, the entire planet, it was built for you." And I was like, "For me? Me? Really?
Me.
No, not you personally,
Yeah.
but for your kind."
Mm.
And I just said, like, for humanity, like for human beings. She goes, "No, not that. That was built for you." Right. So she said, "We built it for your race of people that had evolved beyond the need of a physical body. And they did it like countless million years prior. And you've been without a physical being for so long, you became very detached,
Mhm.
became very unemotional, uncaring, you know, people that were physical. You just looked at them like they were nothing,
Mhm.
just waste of space kind of thing. So we built this as much for you as we did for us." And I was like, "Well, why? How does it benefit you?" And she said, "It benefits us because we need to see if you can actually manage being in a physical being again after, countless million years being without it." I remember looking across the darkness at her and just said, "We're not doing well, are we?" And she just shook her head. She goes, "No, you're not."
Mm.
That scared me more than most nightmares could scare me. Just the very casual, benign way that she just said, "No, you're not."
Mhm.
So
Sometimes messages come in the most, subtle ways, and every now and then, like I always, ask for these sort of interactions, and sometimes you're kind of like, "What?" That was a thing, but I think that it's important to pay attention. Don't just shrug everything off. You know. Um, okay, next article: The Matrix, aka simulation theory, is a matrix-like universe that was first proposed by the University of Oxford, Professor Nick Bostrom in 2003, according to phys.org news, which is where I found this article. It's an article that was in the Insider. He did a TED Talk conference in 2019 and put forward the frightening idea that humanity could destroy itself with technology of our own creation. So if that's not scary enough, he went on to say the only way we could save ourselves is simple: mass surveillance using AI. What? and Elon Musk agrees. And again, I said, what? How would this work? Well, according to businessinsider.com, stated in an article that according to Bostrom, we should prevent technology from existing by surveilling ourselves. Humans should be monitored at all times via AI, which could send info to freedom centers that essentially are put in to save us from doom. I thought, God, that's crazy. You're sort of like going the whole other way. But Elon Musk, according to an article in The Guardian, it was suggested that human technology was advancing so fast that in the future we would have the ability to simulate entire universes, which would be filled with rich and complex details, much like our own would contain genuinely conscious beings. It's like, wow. So these beings would be, wait for it, indistinguishable in most ways, aside from the mind, as theirs would be made up of circuit boards and having artificial design. So, according to Elon Musk, given that we're clearly on a trajectory to have games that are indistinguishable from reality, it would seem to follow that the odds are that we are in base reality. The odds are that we are in a base reality is 1 in billions. Simply put, do you think we are living in a simulation? So he's been quoted as saying this sort of thing. And I kind of went, damn.
Like, I mean, all
But again, it's all
conspiracy-
hypothesis. That's what we're talking about, right? So
yeah, I mean, all conspiracy theories aside, I mean, you look at Elon Musk. Is he not the richest individual on the entire planet?
right.
Okay, so if you know the back door to the game,
Yeah.
you could be anything you want, right? Sorry, the cat's
Exactly.
here. So it would stand to reason that the guy that's saying that it's probably a simulation is the guy that probably knows because he's the richest guy on the planet. All right, stop.
I got Dexter and the
I got
bird.
Dexter howling. Oh yeah, they're all here now.
Oh
The
boy,
menagerie.
he wants his
But
food.
that's what I've always said. So
Have to wait.
I would rather I would believe him based on the fact that he has mastered the game and is living quite comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I think this is why it's a hypothesis because I think people will always have their speculations. It's something that people have found ever since the movie. People have found it very, I think people are intrigued. But we do know that with a lot of these films and, media in general, things are hidden in plain sight. There's always little signs, whether it's symbolism, whether it's references, whether this is a thing or, is this something that they're trying to bring us into perhaps in the future? Are they trying to get us in there? Let's look at, for example, some of those videos that you see out there and you've got birds flying. Just stop. I remember seeing a video that was pretty compelling, and it was before the age of AI, which is what I mean, I like the older stuff because obviously it's less of a chance of it being manipulated. But it was with, a police officer or state trooper. It was in the US, and he was coming down this path, and he stopped, and there was a cup in midair, and he stopped, and you see him walking out of his car, walking towards this thing. And he's looking at it, and it's just like a, like one of those little, cardboard cups from a fast food place, right? And he goes and he puts his hand under it. There's nothing. He goes over it. There's nothing. And then he goes to grab it, and the thing just falls with everything inside of it. I'm just like, that's kind of interesting.
Those are glitches. I mean, there's no explanation. No explanation. I'm not a scientist. Someone could come up and go, well, that's because of, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I watched a similar one, same idea, along like the early onset of videography kind of thing. And you could hear this woman calling to her husband, and she's, looks like kind of a farmhousey kind of feel to it. And he comes in and he's like, what are you yelling about kind of thing? And she goes, look at this. So he comes in and there's the tap. She was doing dishes or went to do the dishes. And there is a droplet of water, I guess, that came out of the tap when she shut it off or turned it on. And it had stopped mid-flight into the sink. There's a ball of water. And the guy's looking at it. He goes, hold on, get the camera. And he's right up to it with the camera. And he's like, same with the cup. He's like putting his hand under it, over it all. And there was nothing holding it. He goes, well, that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And then he goes to touch it. And as soon as he touched it, gone.
Okay. See, that's just
like, what is with that? It defies.
But see, there's all kinds of things like that, like birds just stopping. I think one was a bird or a plane. I don't remember which one it was, but it was upside down. And I'm in midair, just stop. I'm like, okay, you don't trust a lot of the videos because it's just like, they just mess around with them. But there's some that when you're doing that experiment, you're going all the way around the thing and there's nothing and it's just sitting there. And as soon as you try to grab it, it just drops. It's like it just kicks back in. Mark says, Musk said he is 99.8% sure that we're all living in the Matrix. He's also encouraged everyone to watch the film Total Recall.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Polly says, hello. Nowadays, we barely listen to each other, but people are all listening to this new chat GPT like a huge brain source of information, dismissing that it's just AI and who's its own source. Yeah, I mean, it's programmed by somebody that, we all have to remember things like that. It didn't just program itself,
No.
If you look around your own surroundings, you'll see glitches every day. I have taken photos of proof and it's kind of a hobby. See, fascinating. Right. So do you find all kinds if you're saying every day, can you jot down maybe a couple of examples of your glitches? Okay. Yeah. She goes, I saw that when it was a plane. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So
There's
I mean,
hiccups everywhere. Like you can walk along the street, and I
mhm,
find there's what I call hiccups.
yeah.
In the Matrix, they call them deja vu, which are glitches when you see the same cat twice, kind of thing. But like
Yeah.
you see that sort of stuff like over and over again. Like I'll put something down, like I'm working on my van, and I
Mhm,
put a wrench down on the floorboards of the van,
mhm,
which are just nothing there. There's no carpet. It's just
mhm,
floorboards. And I reach for it and it's not there. And I'm
mhm.
like, okay, so where did it go?
Yeah.
And I get out of the van and I look and it's there. Okay, so like,
See
is that masked by like the demonic kind of thing, just playing with me, cover it over, and
something.
then, or or
Mhm.
or was the wrench not even there?
Ah,
Even
the
I
wrench
just
not
think I'm holding the wrench.
there.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the Matrix makes me think I'm working on the motor of the van with a 5/8 spanner, but
Yeah.
there's no van, there's no wrench, there's not even a bolt.
Yeah. Cindy says it's amazing. She goes, yeah, she goes, that's what makes us think we are in it and how we drive by a building and the next day it's not there and people think you're crazy. She goes, I've seen videos of the sky where it looks like there's a split. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Definitely a curiosity. But I mean, this is what I mean. Like, this is like, it's such a huge interest. And I think this is why, some people, if science is looking at it, kind of saying, I think this might be a thing. Again, I've always found the simulation hypothesis to be like super fascinating because there's so many things that happen every single day where we're sitting here kind of going, something is different, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're living in this matrix simulation thing. It just, I tend to look at this world, this planet as being pretty spectacular. But, things happen that don't make sense. And, okay, could it be what's happening that people are calling the Mandela effect? We're going to talk about. Let me
Yeah.
grab this. Let me grab this for a minute on the Mandela effect. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. So hold on
Can I just
before we get.
share a thought while I'm at it?
Yeah, go ahead. While I'm looking this up.
One thing you got to remember here is like people are stubborn. If you come in and say you're going to do this, they're going to go, no, we're not. Period. Right. But it's like if you're driving a Greyhound bus down the highway, you're doing 70 miles an hour and you want to turn left. You can't. You'll turn
Mm,
the bus over. So what you do is you slow down gradually and you start moving over, and then gradually you make the turn. And
mm,
it's the same what's happening right now with everything, like the Mandela effect.
mm,
They start off with little things, and you kind of go, that's not what I remember, but everybody else remembers it, so you're the crack, right? So,
mm,
and that's how it starts to work. So you start seeing little things like, oh, we're going to put up cameras at crosswalks. Why are you doing that? Oh, for people's safety. Okay, that makes good sense. And then they're in your
mm.
schools, and then they're in the playgrounds. And next thing you know, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
You really didn't object, so we just thought we'd keep adding them, right? And before you
Mm,
know it, 10 or 12 years have gone by, and everybody's kind of forgotten when they first. Well, they've always been here.
yeah.
No, they haven't, but
Yeah.
yeah, they have.
Yeah. It's little things.
It is, but that's how they introduce it.
So, evidence of the matrix. Well, look at the Mandela effect. It's an interesting one. Many people have had experiences like this, and it all began with the death of Nelson Mandela, of course, in the 80s. And even though he died in 2013, this is one of hundreds, literally. The Bernstein Bears, right? Shazam. I mean, I've seen that movie. Like, you can't even mess with me on the Shazam because I've seen how that freaking thing is. It exists. I've seen it, But it's believed that one example, that film never existed. So are we dealing with just little resets, or are we actually dealing with glitches? And then there's missing ETs. There is a belief in all of this hypothesis that we should be seeing a lot more of them.
Hmm.
So they wonder if only selected people see them, hence governments, military experiencers. But it's believed it's because they escaped the alleged matrix. DNA, I have to be real careful with this one, because when I did this show initially back in like 2020, there wasn't a lot of stuff known about this, but DNA containing a, shall we say, illness. I'll leave it there. I'm not going to say the word. So in 2017, a group of researchers from Washington University proved that they could embed a malicious computer code into physical strands of DNA to show the computers working in a gene sequence, which were vulnerable to attack. So they did show this for sure, and it perceived biological reality that it was a computer code all along. What? That's crazy. But anyway, as you start moving along, there are a lot of things, through different, pretty reputable people that are coming out and saying, hey, look, things are happening. There's evidence being researched all the time, right? All the time. A direct quote, in fact, that we can't actually prove that we're living in a simulation. A direct quote from nuclear physicist, I'm hoping I don't butcher this, Zore Davudi, believes that cosmic rays, the most energetic particles known to man, would appear as pixel-like chunks if we were within a simulation, and unending beams if we were in base reality. Meanwhile, New York University philosopher David Chalmers doubts it. It's possible to prove that we don't live in the matrix. You're not going to get proof that we're not in a simulation because because of any lack of evidence that we could actually be simulated. But from a paranormal standpoint, there's a lot of glitches that happen. A direct quote, a storefront exists in a town one day and it doesn't. We were just reading, and it doesn't. Then it's just gone. Explanations include a slip between parallel timelines, or a pop-up. A car passenger sees the word render in the sky as if entering a new part of a video game. Elevators are frequent settings for glitch stories. The jump between floors seems to encourage slip within dimensions. We can go on and on and on. I suppose this is what hypothesis is. Just looking at all of this stuff. But there's some obviously pretty reputable people who's contributing to a lot of this stuff. So I don't know. Hold on, I'm going to go back up. Technology is necessary, but also a manipulative way to control. Yes. Glitches are easy to dismiss with your brain wanting to ignore it. But when you want to see it, much like asking to see it, it works. So I don't know. Guys. There's a lot to it. I'll backtrack a little bit. But when you had another story with a certain somebody, I
Yeah.
guess, who filmed, do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, I wasn't actually filming with these people, but I was supplying tech support, shall we say.
Yeah.
Vehicles and equipment and things like that they needed to produce this short series they were working on.
Yeah.
And this individual had a unique piece of metal that he got, and he wanted to, part of the show was him getting it validated what it is and what it's made up of. So they took it to a metallurgy lab where they fire a bunch of things at it and they tell you what it's made of. So Anyway,
Yeah.
it came back. They gave him the answers. That's all on film, and he was like, "Oh, that's pretty amazing. It's so light. It's hard to believe it's actually steel." You
Yeah.
know, and then he followed that up by saying, I guess that's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. And the guy that did the test started just sort of chortling a little bit, just like, oh no, it's far from it, far from it. And he goes, well, come on, what could you have possibly seen? Like, what is it? And he goes, well, how long you got? And the guy's like, I got a few minutes, I can stay. So he picks up the phone, he calls a colleague and says, oh, come down to the lab for a minute. I got someone who wants to meet you. So the guy comes in a few minutes later, and they start talking about what had happened. And he says, oh yeah, he holds up his hand. You see that little scar right there on my finger? And the guy says, yeah. And he says, he's like, I thought I work in a metal lab. He's like, I thought I got like a metal sliver or something in my thumb. And it started to get infected. I went to the hospital and they pulled this thing out. He goes, it was about the size of a grain of rice, maybe a little bit bigger. And he said, but it was a shiny, shiny, shiny piece of metal. No lines or anything on it. So he says, yeah, talk to the doctor. He goes, can I have that? The guy's like, you can have it. So I got a stitch and he sent me on my way. And I figured, I work at a metal lab. I'm going to bring this in and we're going to analyze it and see where I picked this thing up from. So he comes into the lab, drops it in the plate, sticks it into the machine to fire a whole bunch of whatever's at it. And he said, that little grain of rice turned into a little pile of dust, a little pile of powder. Just as I went to touch the button, it was like into a little pile of he said, it looked like sand or salt. I couldn't believe it. He goes, so we just took it out. We went to take it to another machine, but that machine was booked. So he says, we put it in a what do we call it, like a locker for the examples that they're going to experiment on.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, we came in the next morning, had the machine booked, opened up the locker, the tray was there, but that powder was gone. No residue, no powder, like there was nothing left of it. It's like it just evaporated. He goes, and that's a weird story.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Always love going to these things. You hear this stuff.
Yeah. I like those. Those are awesome. A 5.5-foot palm trees, or 5 50-foot palm trees, cut down from the neighbor's home front of the house. There one day, gone the next. I was home all week. All the previous day, no one cut those trees down, yet gone the next day. Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun. Dun, dun,
About that.
dun. Yeah, that's crazy. Jim, is that similar idea to Carl Jung's theory of coincidence? Yeah, theory of coincidence is interesting because it's something like I like synchronicity. I always say, like, I'm not even coincidence. I don't usually use it as much. So not my favorite word, but I do like synchronicities, which is sort of defined by him as meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by cause and effect. He believed that these events were not just random occurrences, but rather manifestations of a deeper order in the universe.
I use the coincidence word pretty freely around here because I know it annoys you. And I always call them like CCs, which are like continuous coincidences. Like, I'm no psychic, but I can predict stuff that's just going to happen, and I know it's going to happen because it's a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. You know, right?
Ange had said something earlier. I haven't forgotten about Ange. Just trying to keep up with everything. She goes, "Are doppelgangers? Are they just AI?"
Well, that's an interesting. You guys were talking about that on Ethereal this afternoon. Doppelgangers, because someone in chat had brought it up, and I had two really weird experiences, not personally, but through friends I know. Like, I don't go to pubs, I don't go to bars. It's just not my thing. And I got a text from somebody from Toronto, and I'm like hour and a half, 2 hours away from Toronto, and they're just like, "Hey, Wayne, we saw you tonight. Where are you? Where did you disappear to?" I'm just like, we talked about it. Like, we're in Toronto. We're at the Nag's Head or whatever it was called. And we just saw you, but we can't find you. And they're like, that's because I'm not there, yo. And they're like, no, it was you. It even sounded like you. We could hear you talking to this guy across the way. Like, trust me, it wasn't me. They were like so wigged out that it wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had to send them a picture of me at the house to show them that I was actually at the house. And then 4 years later, somebody else who was filming, photographer for a series, messaged me and just said, "Oh my God, I just saw you walk through the canteen." And I'm like, "I assure you, it wasn't me walking through the canteen. It was not me at all." Right.
Yeah.
So that's like when you have two people that know me super, super well,
Yeah.
and they say you spoke and sounded exactly like you, it's just like freaky deaky.
It is freaky. I've had people say that to me through the years too. Oh, because I had crazy red hair for a long time.
Yeah.
You could how many people look like me specifically with that crazy hair? And people would say, "Oh yeah, I saw you." I'm like, "No."
No.
They're like, "Yes, it was your hair and everything." I'm like, no." So I mean, what causes that? Is it AI? I mean, AI. I mean, that's something that we're familiar with now. I mean, because it seems to be very prevalent, but that wasn't always a thing. At least not, made known
Not to
to
public knowledge, it
us.
wasn't.
Hey, Kevin.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely not a thing. So I don't know. It's different. Um, My Norwegian girlfriend bought wolf claws. For a week, I had a dream of wolves caught in leg hole traps. I spoke to my elder. He suggested to place the claws in a medicine bag and hang them over a bowl of water. Oh, continues. With blueberries. I did. Left for a month, forgetting about it. When I got back, they were gone. That's interesting for sure. An unconscious out of body experience. I don't know. What if we're all just sleepwalking? Like what if
Beam me
if
up,
we're
wake me
all
up.
in a
Help,
dream
help.
state? What if we are like just it's just a different thing altogether than simulation and matrix. But what if we are just in a pod somewhere having a sleep and this is all just one big crazy dream?
Then let me sleep, for God's sakes. Like, stop running me through the ringer.
I have.
I just want a good nap,
I am tired. I know.
Oh, right on.
Cindy says it is so interesting as to where we are truly getting messages from, even when meditation or channeling. Yeah, because you often find other people getting the same information, synchronicities, or truly one source. I find that really interesting because, again, I think we were talking a little bit about touching on that today. Where is a lot of this information come from? You never know where the information is actually coming from, and again, how much of it, I truly believe that there are things out there, whether through science, through an explanation via science, or just, paranormally speaking. I think there's always something there, in one form or another in the ethereal world trying to manipulate us. So I always say you have to be ever so cautious when doing any kind of a communication, channeling, especially channeling. I mean, a lot of people look at channeling as a form of possession, allowing something to come into your body, but some people will tap in and call it a form of channeling either as well, rather. So I don't know, but it is yeah, the man behind the curtain. I don't know, Wizard of Oz.
I use that one all the time. The man behind the curtain. Ignore the man behind the curtain. Being punished. Meanwhile,
hey,
strange, right?
Yeah, oh, exactly. Jim says after that, the dreams he had after that was the wolves running free in a cedar forest. Very interesting. Mark, they roll out technology very gradually for us and adjust to their program. Possibly. I was thinking about that last night. Maybe we live in a simulation, but still have free will. So here's a hypothesis for everybody. What if, how, and again, I talked a little bit about this earlier because we were talking about a collective consciousness, about how a lot of contactees tend to have dreams, apocalyptic dreams. And Wayne, you can talk about yours if you'd like, because I've had them, but not often. I've only had it maybe less than a handful of times, and they're very, very short. But I always remember the red sand and almost, like not red skies, but like orange, dark, like not like gloomy sort of like orange fog, I guess. You know what I mean? It just seemed I don't know. That's what I saw. It's just like a desolate place. What if, just what if, you know, I mean, Dolly could probably chime in. We come in from, we have this cataclysm. We are from Mars, there's this cataclysm. And maybe this is a place created for us because our place was essentially destroyed. What if we are in status and just living in this, place created for us because there isn't anywhere else? I'm just saying, this is sleepwalk theory. So I'll put up comments. You go ahead and tell your story.
Right. So I was just wondering, just while we're talking about that, the sleep idea. Imagine if it wasn't Mars. Imagine if it was like a million light years away and we had to travel via normal spacecraft kind of idea. We'd be out there for years and years and years, So imagine a spacecraft just full of, 7 million people. They're all asleep, keeping their DNA alive. You'd go brain dead after a while. So they just infuse your mind with a life, not dreams, but an actual life that you're living that's like fruitful. You live, you breathe, you have children, you die, you do it all again, until you reach the destination you're going to. Just another thought. But yeah, the apocalyptic dreams for me are like a desert kind of planet, void of any kind of real vegetation, things like that. I think the one that was the most, because it's me, but my demeanor is much harsher, shall we say. The one that really knocked me on my socks, and I've spoke of this before, so sorry if I repeat.
It's okay.
But it was in a cemetery, but it was not like any cemetery we have around here. It was very industrial looking, and by that I mean like all the monuments weren't of like beautiful angels or little sheep and things like that. They were like gears and cogs and high marble pillars of angles and sharp lines and stuff. And there was a group of guys standing down the hill from me, sort of in a meeting, and you could tell these guys were like military guys just by their uniforms. Not something I'm used to seeing, but they had all the same uniforms on. And I made my way over to them, and there was the obvious leader, the old craggly looking guy with the buzz cut haircut and scar across his face, the typical hardcore military man. And I came up to him and he looked at me and he acknowledged me and kind of like a little nod kind of thing. I did the same. And he said to me, you still hear the voices in your head, son? And I said, sometimes. And he's like, he said, are they still telling you that this is a dream and where you are is actually reality? And I said, yeah, they are. And he goes, it happens sometimes. It'll fade. Just give it time. It'll fade.
It's like, what?
Was that the dream or was that the reality?
I don't know, but that's an interesting concept for sure. And here's another one. I had to come back to this. Guardian says, what if there's a connection between doppelgangers, like the connection with twins?
Could be. Well, if we're all supposed to have if our soul can split and be in, for argument's sake, 7 places at the same time.
Another theory, yeah.
Yeah, then could we all be? Could I have 6 other Waynes walking around? I've heard the theory that if you run into your doppelganger and you see them and you lock eyes, you'll die.
That's actually the doppelganger theory. Is that if you see yourself, you see yourself, your doppelganger, that quickly follows. But I've known people who have seen them and who are still here. So we can kind of read into it as much as we want. But I don't know. I won't say it doesn't happen, but I mean, it did happen to people that approached me with their stories. Now, here's something else you want to say before I go to next
I just
comment?
want to say about that whole idea, but could it just be another seed that's planted by the emperor, to make sure that we don't go looking for our doppelganger? right? It's just like, yeah, if you do that, you die, right?
Yeah, maybe like
It's like my
everything
mother told
else,
me, don't ever
fear-based.
swallow your chewing gum because it'll wrap around your heart, squeeze it until you're dead.
Yeah,
I
fear,
stopped
fear,
chewing gum.
fear. Yeah,
Oh
fear,
yeah,
fear,
for sure, man.
fear, fear, fear. This is also a good point. Jim says, isn't there some ideas that offer that parts of our body are not suitable for the Earth environment? Air causes oxidation, the gravity wears our joints and muscles, are conductive to Earth's environment. Go ahead.
What did I tell you just the other day? I said everything on this planet is trying to kill each other. We are not built for
Yeah,
this planet. It's too
yeah,
hot, it's too cold, it's too wet, it's
yeah,
too dry, you know.
yeah.
Everything here will kill you. Everything, if you're not careful in this planet, will kill you. We're not built for this planet.
Mm, yeah. Everything's trying to eat each other, animals. It's survival, It's a survival thing. All right, I'm gonna move along to some more stuff here, some more notes. So, if we're getting into, I really like if we're listening to, I'll touch on the archons again, Gnosticism, the information. There's a lot, so I really had to try to condense this, but they were already very versed in their knowledge of the stars, no doubt. Who came from them. They believed a lot. Like they believe these archons to be demonic entities of sort. They were rulers, and each related to one of the 7 planets to prevent souls from leaving the material realm. Rulers of the realm within the kingdom of darkness, forces of anti-awakening, believed to be ET races that dominated the earth was another theory. Perhaps they were ultra-terrestrial. Some believe that the archons keep us in a total matrix-like simulation, and that is the big fear for us to wake up and come out of it. Some believe that there were actually a thought form, like tulpas. So were the archons, are they a form of tulpa that manifested into our world and created this copy of our reality? So I mean, I don't know. Possibly, it's possibly, I mean, possible. It seems to fit the bill for sure. So then let's jump over to John Keel, ufologist and author of the Mothman Prophecies. I love John Keel. I love this guy's stuff. I just really dig him. So the term ultra terrestrial was actually said to be coined by Mr. John Keel. He was a believer in extraterrestrials, but ended up moving away from it after some time. He felt as though we should not really be focusing on searching for life on other planets, but instead be looking for life in other dimensions. He also believed that the folklore and religious texts were proof that humanity may indeed have made contact with some other form of intelligent life, but with beings from different dimensions. He theorized that these beings could shift into anything they wanted to and could attribute to tales of whether it be demons, monsters, ogres, angels, changelings. He said anything. He felt that they did have a sense of right and wrong, but were not only capable of manipulating mankind, but most certainly did. He even suggested that there was a control system created by ultra terrestrial beings which had power over our 3D reality. So, is there an interdimensional race of beings who act as our, I guess, custodians, so to speak? Is this this whole world, like a perception of ours?
Big. So beyond my scope. That's way out of my league.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always liked John Keel. He's definitely, it's a very interesting concept. Do we know? Are we all in this little snow globe?
Well, you showed me that picture recently. I'm not going to pronounce it right, but it was in the old text of the Bible with the firmament. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Over
Yeah.
top of
The
everything.
firmament. Well, the Bible speaks of a firmament.
Yeah, it's like, to me, that I never even heard of it until the other day when you were talking about it. Like,
Yeah,
what's that?
I
That's your
know.
snow globe right there. Yeah, pretty much. Like that's just
We're all just
being studied or looked after, or I don't really know what it all is.
Night, Jim.
Night,
Yeah.
Jim.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's it's one of those things I think that will just continue, to continue to be. There are some topics out there that you never really get the answers to, but I think the interest is so is so fascinating that, I mean, you just gravitate towards it. You just gravitate towards it, because you just want
Or
to
you
know
don't.
more.
Some people, like I've said to you a million times, it's like I can only talk about this stuff to certain people. I mean, I can't even talk about this stuff to my family. Like I start talking to my youngest son, who is like 30 plus, about any of this stuff, and he starts laughing. He goes, "Dad, listen, your tin hat's on too tight. You got to do something about that." This is my flesh and blood talking to me here. And my sisters, I try to talk to them about some of the situations, and the one who's really spiritual, really witchy woo woo, just love her to death. I talked to her about that stuff, and there's just no hearing it, just no hearing it at all.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's not for everybody. I mean, it's really tough because you live in a world where, information flows freely, and some of it is without basis. It's without evidence. It's just, hey, take my word for it. This is a thing, and there's a lot of it out there. So you're reading all of these different things. That's why when I'm reading things like this, I try to have sources as to where the quotes came from, so people can go look it up. They're not my quotes. None of this stuff is my stuff. Just putting it right out there. I just share it up, and that's that. But we do live in a world of a lot of misinformation, and we do live in a world of stuff just coming out, and it's like, oh well, hey, it's the way it is. Just take my word for it. No, we can't just take your word for it. It's got to be something more. The Matrix and the simulation hypothesis is one of those things. There are a lot of people, and some of them are way up on the food chain. Um, when you're looking at different members of the scientific community as well, they are putting their mark on that, and they're looking at saying, well, this is, I'm putting my name out on there. So if they're willing to do that, and they're, let's say, respected, within their field, and they're putting themselves out there to their peers and such, there's got to be something to it. Like, because why would somebody just risk a reputation? And so many of these people within the scientific community rely on grants and things like that for research. So you're really taking a chance that no one's ever going to give you $5, let alone another grant for more in-depth research. Getting back to some comments, I'll bring this one back up. Exactly what I'm saying. John's concept is enough to absolutely drive me to insanity. I love him, but it's definitely, it's out there. It's out there, but it's, a lot of people lean to it. Let's see. Reminds me that the last scene of the Men in Black, where giant aliens are playing with marbles, and one of them is our universe.
Yeah.
My brother was diagnosed mentally unwell. He sees things that sound very close to ET and spirits. He self-medicated with drugs, and it flipped his psych.
Yeah.
Sometimes that does
did the same thing.
happen. Yeah. Just
Right.
psychic for sure. Well, sometimes though, I always say, because I working and doing energy work, and also knowing a lot of people who have autistic children, that they're highly gifted children with Down syndrome, or people with Down syndrome and autism. It's like the brain just functions differently. And I've seen it in action. Where they just come out and you're just like, and you just know they're spot on, So I don't know. I think things just work differently, and they're quite gifted, and in many cases very evolved. Same with people with Alzheimer's. My father used to see everything.
It's almost like the deflector shield gets taken away and you're wide open.
Oh yeah, my father used to see him point, come up with all kinds of things, and I'd see him just looking around. I'm like, it's just.
Well, my mother and father both went through that. My mom more than my dad did. My dad saw all kinds of people from the Navy, and my mom was talking full-on conversations with people that weren't there.
Mm-hmm. See, so I don't know. There's definitely something to it. So if we're getting into this whole matrix simulation, how do we escape it? And that's hypothesizing and saying, okay, we're actually in a simulation. So let's hypothetically say we're in a simulation. How do you get out? Well, when we think of an average person's life, we see like a lot of like drone-like behavior. Get up, go to work, come home, cook dinner, or do homework with the kids, take the kids out to soccer, come back. It's a cycle. For many of us, we wake up early, like I said, get dressed, go to work, and it's again, you come home, have dinner, brush your teeth. Like it's very, very,
Robotic.
very systematic. That's it. Now, according to an article in, ironically, sofoarchon.com, this is not healthy living; it's existing. For many people, barely existing. So, do we ever stop and wonder, have we been programmed? I mean, and we've talked about this just in conditioning and schooling, and we learn what our parents learned, right? And their parents before them, and so on and so forth. Do you want to add to that?
Exactly what we were talking about earlier. 100%. Like I said to earlier, I wasn't born an electrician. I learned that. It was taught to me by somebody else. Like it's everything, every single thing that you think you know and believe came from someone else, without question. You did not come out of the womb going, hey, I like this kind of pizza, and I don't like this kind of person, and I like boats, and I don't like cars. It's all taught to you either in a physical, like academic lesson, or simply by observing. My mom doesn't like raccoons, therefore I don't like raccoons. My sister is terrified of snakes, therefore I am terrified of snakes. It could be something as simple as that.
Or ancestral, like imprinting,
DNA imprinting. I watched a fascinating thing years and years ago with babies and their mothers. And they had 2 experiments where they had a glass floor where you walk to the edge and it looked like you were going to drop. And they watched their mother walk across the glass floor without a concern, and the baby just followed them. No fear of the drop, nothing, because they watched their mother do it. And in the same one, they had mothers that would shriek and run away from a snake on the floor, and the baby started crying. Other mothers would sit on the floor and play with the snake and pick it up and wrap it around themselves, and the baby did the same thing. Long before speech and understanding was within that child's capability, they learned through observation.
Yeah, I think babies just instinctively don't have that fear. I mean, you look at, babies who they learn how to swim. Like mothers just come in and drop them into the water. Child just floats about, goes under the water, no problem. There isn't that fear. There isn't that conditioning. So it's definitely conditioning. So when we look at that, breaking free is one. So breaking free of organized religion is supposed to be one of them. And again, this comes out of the sofoarchon.com. Okay. So that is the source. This will be a sore spot for many people, but it's number 1 on the list apparently. Why? Because it allegedly prevents people from being free thinkers or seeking truth outside of their faith.
That's the one right there.
Yeah, they should be able to reach their own conclusions based on their reasoning and life experiences. The inability to do this instills huge emotional suppression and suffering. So follow if you must, it says, but don't hesitate to ask questions and start your own quest for knowledge. So nobody's saying, don't do it. They're just saying, just don't be afraid to think outside the box and research. Just research. Look at me every day. Every day I research something. I love learning new things. I love just being on the outside of the box, looking in instead of being in the box. I believe in ancestral imprinting. There are things I know how to do. No one taught me. 100%. 100%. Be open to all information. And I like how some neurologists have had personal experiences and now they're changing their opinion. I like it when people with doctrines, or well-researched individuals, academic people. Is that Dexter just like staring at you, trying to say?
Oh yeah, I got bullets going into my head right now.
I know, Dexter. I filmed a TV show. I think it was back in 2007, long time ago, and it was a segment that we filmed for. I can't remember the channel right now, but I worked with. It was interviewed with a psychologist, and they asked, what do you do about people who paranormally there's something going on? Like, how do do you think they should step outside the box and deal with paranormal investigators? And I was always very, well, being, me, I'm very open to many different things. I don't like to do things without some kind of assessments if possible. And it was interesting because the psychologist said, and he goes, why not? If they help to find the answer, he goes, why not explore it? Maybe they can offer different insight than what I could offer. But at the end of the day, it comes down to helping the family. And if everybody works together, then you can get those results. And I worked with many, families where I've said, I want something from, like get me something from a doctor saying it's okay for me to work with you because, if they're on medication from a psychiatrist, for example, I said, I prefer to have permission because I'm not a doctor. I don't want to try to make things worse, for example. And they would say, no, we're okay. Just don't go off the meds. And I respected that. It was just another step more than anything. So I really like that. I knew how internal body organs and workings when I was 4. How? Past life maybe too.
Past life.
Maybe, yeah. So there's that. So next.
So there's that.
There's that. So number 2 on the list, stop giving your power away. As children, we are taught to doubt ourselves and never to question authority. I was opposite. I was the opposite. I always
No, you were
encourage-
taught not to question authority. You just didn't listen.
Okay.
Big difference.
Okay. But because of that, I always encourage my children to never doubt themselves and to question everything. Respect was to be earned by all. I had teachers who disliked me because I would say to them, parent teaching it, don't think you're just going to get respect as you demand it. You damn well better earn it. And it's that simple. Many adults will question or second guess themselves, and in many cases, seldomly take responsibility for their own actions. So take your power back. So that's another one. Question the dominant economic system. Direct quote from the article was, our global economic system, money is created out of debt. For nearly all money is essentially loaned into existence with interest attached. What does it mean is that there's always less money in the economy than debt. Research the negative impacts of the economy and try to break free from the system. This also includes breaking free from consumerism. So I thought that was very, very interesting as well. Next on the list, beware of the media. Knowledge truly is power, and we are drowning in a sea of misinformation. For most part, corporate media will often intentionally feed us false, misleading information to manipulate for their own agendas and those power. Become a truth seeker and research everything. You owe it to yourself to expose yourself to multiple sources of information. So that's, that's another one. Next, be mindful of what you put into your body. So health-wise, if you eat healthier, chances
I'm
are,
doomed.
yeah, chances are, the body is your temple. You'll feel better, you'll think better, you'll sleep better, and then you can get into this next step, which is develop mindfulness. Break free from your conditioning by being mindful. This will allow you to respond consciously and spontaneously as opposed to unconsciously and out of habit. This can be done through meditation and grounding, achieve higher levels, higher vibrations, and explore the gifts that you guys were given. I say we're this species with amnesia. I think we forget the fact that our creator gave us everything we needed to exist here. And as I said earlier with Carol Ann, cruel joke is we're not allowed to remember it. We just show up here going, what?
Hello.
But yeah, hello. But we are, we are prepared. We're sent here with everything that we need. right? And we
Hmm.
shouldn't be so fearful, I think. There are many people are experiencers being visited by other beings. And I often think, are these other beings here trying to help us just snap out of it? Here, this is information. They're trying to help us along. And we're in this, I call the sleepwalk state. We're just happy to go along in our comfortable, familiar schedules and routines. And it does not necessarily help us. But always be really, really, really cautious too. There's a lot of stuff out there. And the fear is the big one. Fear will age you, stress will age you. And that is what the basis of this simulation is to keep, if there are things feeding off of us, which I truly believe there are, then we're living in this state of fear because, anxiety and stress, because that is good food. So you have to starve them and step out of that box and raise those vibrations up and be happy. I always tell the people I've worked with over the years, I'm like, watch a funny movie, laugh, sing, dance, open the windows, go hug a tree, ground, swim, be around your friends. Just, get out of this rut.
It's important.
It is important, absolutely. And I'm all for. There's a lot of information coming out there. Some of it's really good information. Not everything's going to jive with everybody. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to like it. But you know what? Those people, if they're experiencing something and they believe they're experiencing something, and if there are witnesses to the experiences, well, it's worth a listen. Because there's a lot of stuff out there, and we're just taking it at face value for what it is. Because again, is it because we've been conditioned to do that? So is the simulation all about just the conditioning and the just following through?
It's part of it for sure. I find it interesting being an ex-phone guy that on the Matrix, the only way out of the Matrix was through a landline telephone, but most people don't have them anymore.
Yeah.
Got to go a million miles to find a payphone.
Yeah.
Nobody has a landline in their house. So
yeah. No. Well, some people do. I think for
I'm not
emergencies
saying
you
nobody.
should.
I'm saying
Yeah.
it's few and far between. And me and
Mhm.
analogies, I think it's just like it's such a it's in your face, but you don't see it.
Mhm.
Right? Here's the key. Where's the key? Oh, I threw it away. That's great.
Dangle that carrot. Dangle the
But
carrot. I
that's
don't
what it
see the
is,
carrot. There is no carrot.
it's always free will, right? Nobody took your phone
Yeah.
away. You
Yeah.
took it away.
Yeah.
So it's just simple things. Like I said, I've always been an observer. I just watch, right?
Mhm.
Watch things unfold. I had a funny encounter years ago at work with a guy. He was very, very devout, and I was not. I'm spiritual, but I just didn't subscribe to anything specifically.
Mhm.
And I said, "Oh, it's good to question God." And he was just like, "What? That's blasphemous! You don't question God. What are you talking about? Right? That's a sin." And I'm like, "Really? No. It's sure God wants us to better ourselves." No, yeah, no. It's just terrible. You don't do that. You can't be like God. I'm like, "Do you have kids?" He goes, "Well, yeah. I got a boy and a girl." I'm like, "Do you want them to succeed?" He said, "Well, of course I want them to succeed. Why wouldn't I want them to succeed? But just not better than you, right? Like they can succeed as long as they don't make more money than you or be more successful than you, right? Because that's just the way it is, right? Because we're made in
Mhm.
God's image. You just want to be petty that way, right? So they can succeed, but not too much, right?
Mhm.
He went
Yeah.
home now. He's come back the next day. Goes, "Oh man, you ruined my night. I was thinking about you all night."
Oh boy. No,
That's what I
but
do.
but it is true. It is true. I mean, the idea is to evolve, I think, and if we can
I think it's
evolve,
important.
then maybe we're not so much in this simulation. Maybe it is just simply hypothesis. I mean, you know, there's a lot of folks out there that are waking up,
Yeah.
and I think this is great. And in doing so, they're researching, they're looking into things because they're realizing, you know what? There's so many things to learn here. This doesn't feel right to me, or this may not feel right to me. So I want to try to find something that does feel right for me. And I love it when people come on the show and they talk to me about what their findings are, what they're experiencing. We don't have to agree, but it's an awakening nonetheless, you know, and I think that's really important. And if there's anything to this whole simulation matrix hypothesis thing, then I think it's important to consider the fact that, hey, I don't agree with what this person's saying, but this person is waking up, or this person may have been awake and this is what they've been experiencing. But the fact that they're willing to come out and share it, I find always so much gratitude to people who put themselves out there. As a child, I questioned reality due to the AIWS. I was 5 years old, walking to school, asking myself if the car that just passed me really was passing me, or was it just a simulation at 5?
Amazing. Love that.
Just call me a little psycho. Oh my God.
But you're thinking out the box, like you're outside the
Yeah.
box at such a young age. It's beautiful. Most people don't
Yeah.
even get these epiphanies until they're like 10 weeks out from their deathbed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true.
It's true. It's really
Carrie
important.
says, nice way God wants us to succeed and okay to question him. He even has a council. It's not just one being making all the decisions. Yeah. So I don't know. All right. Let's just talk about AI a little bit. If this
I
is
think
a
also knowledge is good. I mean, like, agree, disagree, or sit on the fence. Like, it's knowledge. And
Mhm.
knowledge is important. You know, it might not sound relevant when you first hear it, but then
Mhm.
25 years later, it pops into your head and go, oh my God, that does have relevance now. So don't be quick to dismiss everything. Just be open-minded.
Yeah, no, it's true. Hi, Michelle. It's true. I think that, okay, hold on. I've reflected back on some of my childhood thoughts, like I will live through some kind of catastrophic or world changing event. Why would a child think like that? Or,
Because you remembered signing up for it, whereas I didn't read the fine print.
or do you just remember, did we come from again? Are we Martians? And is it embedded into our core somehow? And we're here. So in a way, did we survive it? Right? So, hey Mark. So, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But there's one thing is for certain. Like again, I truly think that even going back to the whole series of films, I can look at films now, knowing what we've been through, what the world has been through in the last several years. I can see things now, and even looking at things that were filmed before that, and I look at it and
Supernatural.
go, these were hints.
Yeah.
These were hints left in these productions, and they happened.
Well, look
So
at that series, Supernatural. It was out like way
they
before.
were great. I know.
I'm watching that thing for the first time going like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Like, did they have a precursor to what was coming? Because they were talking about stuff that we're talking about now that's only happened now, and they're making reference to it like it's a thing. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So did they have a hint at what was coming? Or did they write it and then the powers that be kind of went, oh, that's a good idea. We could probably implement that.
Yeah.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's fascinating when I watch these old shows, even ones going back to 40s, 50s, and 60s, and you see little hints and little references that they make, and you kind of go, how was that a damn good guess, or did they know?
Yeah, right.
Mm.
Well, I think so because like I said, I'm looking at things now that were filmed just before. I'm going, there was a hint. There's a lot of clues that were left. And when you hear it and you witness it, you're kind of like, you're like, wow, that's very, very interesting. Hold on. Where was going? Here we go. JD. I always practiced flying and levitation under the age of 10, but it never worked. Well, the fact that you were trying is interesting, isn't it?
Probably remembered how. It's in your DNA memory.
Mm-hmm.
You did it before. Seems natural to do it now, but you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Telekinesis. Yes. There was an episode on Supernatural talk about yes, P word, and commented to stock up on the TP, the toilet
Yep.
paper.
Well,
Right?
I like the one, it was just an offhand comment made by a secondary character in there, and they were just having a conversation. The guy goes, well, we all know the queen is a lizard anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It was like, what?
And I'm like, wait, what? What did you just say?
Yes. But you see what I mean? Those are just like some of the, couple of the examples, but there was stuff like it is so out there that when you see it and you hear it, because we were just watching something recently, Yellowstone, I think, and
Yeah.
there's so many tidbits in there. We're just kind of like, where'd that come
Not
from?
what you'd be expecting to see in a
Oh.
1883 Western
Sorry.
talking about stuff that's happening in 2025. I'm just like, wait, what? Wait, what?
This
Is
is
that for
kind of like,
real?
yeah, about that stuff,
About that right there. Some of
Yeah.
it's funny and some of it's just like,
Eye-opening.
wham, just hits you right between the eyes and you go, good grief.
It's eye-opening for sure.
I know.
You know, I don't know. I mean, the hints are all there. Let's talk about The Simpsons.
Oh boy.
Oh my God, The Simpsons. Okay. Ha. They seem
I stopped
to.
watching it years ago, so I'm out of that picture.
No, but there's a lot of stuff that comes up with these little, predictions. That's right. Okay, Dexter, knock it off.
Oh, I know. He's brutal. He's brutal right now. He's hungry and it's not time yet.
When you're done, you have to go feed that poor guy.
Oh, we'll get there.
But The Simpsons making predictions. I mean, they'll tell you, oh yeah, The Simpsons, the writer, the producer, the owner is a Freemason, and they're said to know exactly what's going on, what's coming up, but it always seems to happen, and sometimes they predict it years ahead.
Yeah.
And then it happens. You're kind of like, okay, what came first? Did do things happen because hints are dropped and like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea because somebody else had this incredible creation, right? And somebody up and the up's going, I think we can do that. Or is it something, was it really like a prediction and then it eventually happened?
Hard to know.
Hard to know. Exactly. Yeah,
That's
right.
what we go back to, hidden in plain sight. What better place to hide the clues to the universe than in a cartoon?
Yeah.
No one will take that seriously.
It's true. No, exactly. It's wild as my granddaughter tells me that she just told me. To my mind, from her mind, I don't walk around talking about or defining telepathy. So how would she know this at 4 years old? Kids are gifted.
Well, they are.
Star communicators. Yes, exactly. Well, I go back to the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch.
I love that. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I learned more in that. Every chapter is like one line. It's a quick read, but man, oh man, that was so good. So good. I actually put bits and pieces of it in the books I wrote.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Say the part.
Oh, it's just talking about different things where he talks about coming down from the sky, like he watched the angels descend from heaven and left the ball of fire and came to him and showed him the kingdom of heaven in the palm of his hand. Well, when that was written, nobody had any concept, but I could show you where I live on my cell phone. Here, let me just scroll through the pictures for you. And that was that. But he also talks about the desert of black glass, right? And everyone knows that if you heat up sand hot enough, it will turn to glass. But again, like what in prehistoric times would be hot enough to turn the desert to glass, right? Like it would have to be some kind of a nuclear fusion. Could be a meteor, comet, something like that for sure. Yeah. But the fact that he knew about it, like I put that in the book too, just because it's my vampires are old. So
yeah. No,
that made sense to me.
It is.
Sorry?
It's fascinating stuff. And look at how old that was.
Oh yeah, it's ancient. I mean, what he said too at the end, he went up to the kingdom of heaven with the angels, and on the last time his son came to him and said, Father, are you returning? And he said, I will return. But by the time I return, your children's grandchildren will already be dead.
Mm-hmm.
So that just, he goes away. He doesn't age because he's traveling at light speed.
Mm-hmm.
And when he comes back, like his whole family has aged and aged and aged and aged and aged and aged and aged.
Mm-hmm.
So Enoch could be returning in a UFO next week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There we go.
And he
Could
will look
be,
pretty much
could
the
be.
same as he did when he took off.
So there's a lot. When I say hidden in plain sight, read between the lines. If something is being kept from you, because the Book of Enoch was left out,
Mm-hmm. There's a
of the
reason.
Bible this time, of course, but yet, I mean, it speaks of all kinds of interesting things. Ezekiel's wheel as well, that's right in there. Like, there's just a lot of stuff in there.
Well, I
People
can
gotta
remember you. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I can remember looking at a picture, again on the TV and having that boop, aha moment. And it was a History Channel thing, and they were showing pictures of the Anunnaki. When I laugh and goes, oh, they got a Timex watch and they got a pine cone. And that's all I could ever see. And then one day I took a step back, I saw it again, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not a tree they're putting a pine cone in. That's a DNA helix. And it was like my eyes were so open at that moment. I'm like, it's been right there all the time, that these beings with beards and wings are actually inserting code into the human genome.
Yes.
Can never unsee that picture ever again.
Some things are very they are very, very in your face, but you just don't know what you're looking at. It's all out there. It's all out there. But no matter what the case is, they definitely there's always going to be theories. And I find it interesting with this one. And I think it's going to be something that will continue to be explored, because as we enter the age of AI and, different types of technology, eventually the hypothesis and the theories will continue to change. And some may seem, if it seems really far out, you almost have to ask yourself, So again,
yeah,
as
but electricity
Morpheus,
seemed far out once upon a time.
It's true.
Walk into a dark room and push a button or flick a switch and the lights come on. Like voodoo magic. What is this?
That's true.
I'll tell you, the government and the military will never tell you how far along the advancement curve they are. Never.
Oh, absolutely not.
So whatever you're seeing in the air and on the ground is probably 50 to 100 years or more behind where they actually are.
We, the common folk, do not need to know. But I mean, we do live in a system. It is a system. It doesn't mean that it gets, it's a simulation, but it is a system. So as Morpheus says, the matrix is everywhere. It's all around us. Even now, in this very room, you can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from truth. And that's a quote from the film. But one thing about the film is, its connections to the spirituality. Hinduism's huge, so you just, when I started realizing, especially after I researched this, and I said, you know what, I'm really going to have a really good look at what is going on there, and what is, what's all these little things that I missed the first time. I remember my oldest son saying, goes, you really need to watch it, because when you watch it, every time you watch it, you will see something very different. And I thought, okay, all right, I can do that. I can do that. And I mean, people are writing books on this stuff as well. There's one called The Simulated Multiverse by Rizwan Virk, I believe. And this is exactly what he talks about. That's it. So I think we are in a place where things are going to start happening even more so. And as technology changes, I think you're going to start seeing even more and more people either falling into it and, too much of this, even more so.
I used to call that the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah,
I
well,
just watch people walk around like this with their heads down. It's just like I used to call it the zombie apocalypse. It's on us now.
yes, it's all about distractions as well. And I think keep you distracted as things go on around you. So you'll either fall into technology, embrace it, and it has its place. Technology has always had its place. But no matter how beneficial things are, it's meant to also just distract you from what your real path is. Takes you from your path. Don't let anything take you from your path. Um,
But what if you don't know what your path is?
you haven't figured that out by yet?
No. Following you.
You can do that if you so choose.
Perfect.
Like promoting something in the news that keeps us from focusing on what is really going on. 100%.
100%.
Have you read The Simulation Hypothesis by Dr. Burke? No. I just saw an interview. Yeah, no, I have not. But that's based on a lot of what we've talked about tonight. There's so much out there. And I the whole other book to me was just like right there. Read it, guys, read it. Read it and use your drive for learning. I think the problem is now with AI is people are going to lose their drive from wanting to learn because it's
Well, it
just
makes
a
it easy, right? Push
click
a
of a
button, the
button.
answer's there. That's right.
But think about it. These things are programmed by somebody else. It doesn't mean they got it right either. And I find it really fascinating because if I'm on, a certain social media platform and they always ask the AI that's there, what does this mean? And sometimes even the AI has no answer. I'm like, that's really interesting. It's not saying or it doesn't know, or it's programmed just not to tell you. But I found that to be very, very interesting. Critical thinking is a big one. Yes. The Matrix is one of those movies from my healthy days, good times I didn't know about the claws of the world, the curveballs it throws at you suddenly back then. No. But if you watch it now, I made a point, we rewatched like all four of them. And I'm thinking, heck with this. I just want to go back in and see it. The original, of course, is the best one. But there's so much information that's just all hidden in between the fibers of the story, and it all comes from somewhere. If anything, makes for a great film and a great read. So with that being said, do you have anything you want to add to that, Wayne?
I don't think so. I mean, one of the funniest things for me in there was he tells Neo that it's a simulation when they practice their kung fu in the dojo, and Neo's huffing and puffing and trying to catch his breath, and Neo bends over and he says, it's a simulation, right? I plugged you in. So is that air you're breathing right now?
Yeah.
He's like huffing and wheezing and puffing. He was like, it's your mind.
Yeah.
There's no air in the simulation. Stop it.
It's true. It's true. So would you have to practice all this stuff just so you can figure out, am I really in a simulation or is this real?
I'm not jumping off a building, put it that way.
No, exactly. Exactly. No. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed the segments. Heidi, you've got to watch it. Heidi, you're one that I know. If you watch it, you're going to message me and say, oh my gosh, like this is a thing.
All the messages.
Yeah.
All the messages that are in that.
Yeah, there's so much. And when you just cross-reference a lot of the stuff, you see the different, spiritual intonations that are in there. Thank you, Mark. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great weekend as well. And yes, disengage. Don't engage is what you're saying, Carrie, with AI for sure. Next week, guys, there will be another an Outer Realm replay, again commemorating our dear friend and past guest Dave Bennison. He's been on many times, and the last couple of times was based on historical Niagara, not just Niagara, Canada, Niagara, US, and the whole Niagara region. My God, the history is rich and it's just fascinating. And there's a nice change from a lot of the stuff that we've done. So I'm beyond the outer realm to commemorate him because he passed last Friday morning. So I thought this would be a nice way to just allow some of you guys to get to know him a little bit if you missed the live shows, because he's just really, it's a great loss, historically speaking, and to the region, and a great loss, to us who knew and loved him. So anyway, that's going to be Tuesday. And Wednesday welcomes for the first time Jason Offutt discussing his book, Chasing North American Monsters. Dun, dun, dun. I can't freaking wait for that one. Also, the return of Sir Brian Bowden returns to talk about his experiences and research with Bigfoot. We all love Bigfoot. We really do. And he touched on some the last time and sort of had us going, wow, that's pretty freaking amazing. So, anyway, he's going to be back to do that. So, for those of you guys who are just tuning in, thank you, Ange. Thank you. Thank you. Glad to make people think. It's just awesome to see you join us. Please remember to like wherever platform you're on. Please like, subscribe, share it up, comment. I always do get back to comments on the Outer Realm page because it's just easy for me. I'm actually notified, so I'm able to do that. So please do that. We appreciate you so much. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee, Justin Snickers, Steve McGinnis. Big thank you, United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM, New Orleans. Thank you to everybody in chat. We appreciate you so very much. You make it that much more fun. Big thank you to my compadre, Wayne Mallows.
Always fun.
Feed the cat.
I got the bird yawning, screaming goodnight bird, and I got the cat howling for dinner. So yeah, it's the circus.
It's there.
Begins.
It's there and it's time.
It's going on.
All right, everybody. Good night and have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.